Hello and welcome into episode 2 of Get the Ball Rolling podcast. I'm your host here, Nick Laupius, joined now at the table by the always wacky, the namesake of this podcast, Roland Stevens. Roland, how are you on this evening?
I'm doing good. Unless I say you were looking really swell today.
Roland, you are too kind.
Hey, whoa, easy. My clothes are about to come off.
All right. Already,
I'm trying.
Already an interesting start. And then the always over-the-top Tommy McClear. Tommy, thank you for allowing us into your gorgeous recording studio here in Denton. And how are you on this fine evening?
I can't complain.
All right. Well, he says he can't complain. He often does complain. But, gentlemen, unfortunately, some sad business to get to right off the bat as we start off. If I'm sure everyone has heard by now, the untimely and tragic death of Kobe Bryant, along with his daughter, and then another family losing both parents and an older sibling in a helicopter crash. This is a tough one to talk about. And we see the reaction. Obviously, basketball games were still played on Sunday. But now that we've had a few days to
How do you guys feel about that, by the way?
I don't think they should have played. They've asked a lot of players, and obviously they said that it's what Kobe would have wanted. But I think at the same time, they should have done, I think, everything in their power to try and give them at least a day off.
I mean, you got these guys crying on the court. You know what I mean?
And it's a league that they, talk about so much about mental health of their players and the mental well-being, and then that.
You also, to me, I think you kind of also have to look from a logistical standpoint.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever thought this would happen, but teams who have already flown out to go to those games, fans who have
television
already arrived,
contracts.
right? Fans who have already arrived to that arena. And while there is that part of me who wants to say, yeah, they should have canceled the games, you kind of have to look at that logistical standpoint and just say, the show must go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different angles to it. They did postpone the Lakers-Clippers game. That's now Friday night at the Staples Center. That will definitely be much must-watch television. I beg your pardon. Yeah. So obviously that's going to be a very emotional night for a lot of players. But let's get into kind of reaction around the NBA first. I'm going to start off with the hometown Mavericks. Mark Cuban that night announcing that the Mavericks are going to retire the number 24. I wanted to get your guys' opinions on that, retiring the number of a guy that never played for you and at some points was a pretty big playoff foe in a couple of rounds that you lost to the Lakers in.
I'll go first on this one because I don't actually hate that. I think that's actually like a very respectful thing to do. And I know you bring up playoff rivals and throw that around. When Allen Iverson, his tribute to them was actually Kobe holding the trophies that he had won when they had beaten this Philadelphia 76ers, the team Allen Iverson was on. So I definitely think that you can respect a foe and respect a teammate, and you can respect what somebody has given back to the game, because we know Kobe has given back that to a lot of players. Mm-hmm. And if he didn't, people would not have been retiring their jerseys or changing their jerseys in the first place. So I am actually a fan of the Mavs doing that. I see no quarrel with it. I have no issue with it. I can't speak for most people. I think circumstances would be different if it was somebody else or if it was another scenario.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because, first off, it's like a tragic death. It's not like he was 90 and passed away of natural causes or, something like that. Or if he was just some guy, right? But, I don't even watch basketball. And, he's one of the most relevant players in basketball, if not all sports. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that has to do with it. I think it's tough because it's weird to see one team that he never played for do it without seeing the whole league do it. So that'd be interesting. Yeah. I'm not necessarily calling for that. But
another thing too is I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I definitely think before teams do that, there should be some reflection upon that. I definitely don't think the day after, maybe a day or two after, everyone in the league should vie for that number to be universally retired, like Jackie Robinson in the MLB.
Well, in the Mavericks, they announced it the night of.
Yeah. Right. And again, I think that is a very touching memorial to him. Yeah. I definitely think before that spreads, there should be some reflection, and I think we're kind of at that point where we're reflecting on his greatness. And I think that it really is the saddest part about him dying is that none of us expected to do that with Kobe so soon.
Yeah, it's very, very shocking. It doesn't feel like it's even real. I mean, on a lighter note, the three of us were at Korean barbecue eating, and Nick got it, like the notification on his phone, and we were like, there's just no way that like
Yeah.
very much like you go, at least me, I go home, I'm in bed at night going through my phone, I'm just reading all this stuff, I'm like, wow, that still happened. You know what I mean? I didn't like wake up and think, oh, that didn't really happen.
That's the thing that hit me the most is like even that day, I don't think it really hit me till that night. When you're like there's no way this is real. When you're looking at Twitter and you're seeing all these tweets and the memorials and the art and just really the impact that he had on that city and everyone that he has come into contact with. And I think the one that really kind of hit hard with me is with Shaq. When Shaq openly said that the last time he had talked to Kobe was in 2016, the last game he played at the Staples Center. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right. And he said, hey, score 50, and Kobe scored 60. So, Shaq in his head, had all that time to reconnect with Kobe. And to my understanding that Kobe was also actually reconnecting with his father, too. So, I mean, life is short, make the most of it, and spend it with good people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were definitely talking about that last night on the TNT broadcast that took place of the Lakers versus Clippers. Talking about can be eye-opening for a lot of people to kind of make the most of the time that you have here.
So I hate to ask this, but you said, what did Rick Fox say in his story? I didn't actually watch that video.
People thought that when all that misreporting, which I know Nicky wanted to talk about, people thought he was on the helicopter too. And basically was getting texts and calls from like his family being like, hey, are you basically saying, are you still alive?
Yeah.
He was fighting back tears last night when he was talking about it. And that I did want to get into that. The start off with TMZ, they were the first ones to break it. Does not sit right that they broke that before anyone from the Bryant family or any of the other families that had passengers on that helicopter were notified. So that's problem number one, is they didn't allow the proper officials to contact family first, and then you had the big problem. Everyone just seemed to try and play catch up with TMZ. They were trying to be first, not necessarily accurate. ABC said that all four of his daughters were...
Yeah, his wife.
Yeah, it said that his entire family was on the helicopter.
And Rick Fox.
Yeah, and that Rick Fox was on it. Rick Fox was getting a ton of phone calls. So that raises the question of, I think it's obvious to me, but clearly to some people it's more important to be first than to be right. And to allow the people that are involved to really get the information out first.
And actually, if I could actually back off something, this is a weird personal thing I don't like. I don't like how they have the press especially have kind of wanted to get as much as they can from Vanessa Bryant.
Oh,
and
That's terrible.
Yeah, and I think her grieving, our condolences go out to her. I hope she has a good support system around her, because I can't imagine what she's going through.
There was I think the New York Post last night tweeted out that someone had spoken to them that she couldn't get, sentenced out without crime. There was no need to leak that out. I
read an article today saying she finally she posted something about them. I didn't know.
I haven't seen it. I have not checked on that end.
You have to let her, get that on her own time. Giana Bryant, the 13-year-old that was in the accident, the video surfacing of them talking the basketball game, you see, and he'd even talked about that she was going to be the one to carry on his legacy. Again, a lot of people have been saying this. The solace that you take in this accident is that, they were together when this happened. Being a girl dad. Which is something that's been taking over social media now, a hashtag, girl dads. So that's obviously very good. The other thing we do want to send out, to the other people that were on there, John Atobley, his wife, Carrie, and then Alyssa were on that plane, on that helicopter. Yes. And they have, I believe, two more children that were back at home. So obviously prayers out to those two children and then the rest of their family. Hopefully they don't get lost in the whole, obviously Kobe Bryant being the big celebrity, but still keep the Atobley family in your thoughts and prayers. A very tragic day for them as well. All right, so we got that out of the way.
Some other sad news.
We'll get right into another one. Tommy,
I was kind of upset seeing this, that Chris Dolman died. He's a defensive end for the NFL. I don't think a lot of people know the name. He's 5th all time in sacks.
Wow.
150 and a half.
No kidding.
That's really good. The guy played for Minnesota for pretty much his whole career, then Atlanta, San Francisco, and then back in Minnesota for one more year. He died of I don't know how to pronounce this. Glioblastoma. It's an aggressive brain cancer that killed John McCain,
Oh,
Gord Downey from the Tragically Hip, and one of my personal heroes, Neil Peart from Rush, recently. So that's kind of wild that's more recent. But yeah, I saw that today. I was like, I've heard the name, whatever. I looked it up, and yeah, he's like 5th in sacks like all time. So it's kind of a big name, but like kind of not, I don't want to say lost in history, but not, I feel like, acknowledged enough.
it definitely comes at a bad time with especially with Kobe Bryant's death to start the week in the Super Bowl to finish it. I definitely think that, and to be right in the middle of that.
Yeah, Goodell did say that they're going to do a tribute to Kobe Bryant and Chris Dolman at the Super Bowl.
Oh, of course, you have to.
Yeah. So on to it. So we had to discuss that. Obviously,
Yeah.
It's been in the forefront of not only like sports news, but just news in general. This whole kind of weekend, beginning of this week. But we got NFL news now.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well,
The
this
awards.
is another one that, Tommy, I know you've been speculating this over the past few. I think maybe Roland has as well. Phillip Rivers officially.
Gone.
Woo!
Officially done with the Chargers. Does he come back? Does he play another year, or is he out of football?
His family has moved, confirmed on Twitter, to Florida. The whole family, allegedly. That's what I read. They moved to Florida. So, I don't know what that means.
Well,
Tampa Bay. Phillip Rivers is going to replace Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay, and actually, I kind of like it.
Well, I'll be honest, I can't stand the guy.
I don't like him either.
It would be interesting to see if he would play again. I personally don't think he will. It'd be interesting to see if, like, maybe the Dolphins want to test the water on him, and if they draft some
That's not
new
bad either.
young gun like QB in the draft, have that guy learn under Phillip Rivers. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Phillip's too much of a competitor, and I think right now for him specifically, he's just at that point where he can't give it to the game as much as he wish he could, and I think he's just going to call it.
Didn't have a very good season this year.
No,
the team was bad, but there were at least, I don't watch a lot of Chargers games. There were 2 that I watched right through, like a terrible interception on the final play of the drive.
Wasn't there I think it was the Thursday night game against the Raiders. He threw 7 straight incompletions and then finally ended it with
threw 3 picks, and the last one was on what in the end zone, what would have been like the game-winning touchdown.
Right.
Essentially. So Ben had a good year.
And also his last game against the Chiefs, he was on the ground punching opposing players. When Terrell Suggs got a sack, he wouldn't let go of his leg. And if you're doing stuff like that, it's time.
Yeah. I was never a big fan of him, so let's be honest, we're never going to get Phillip Rivers on the show at this point after just bashing him for a minute straight. Although I do think he'll play again, but I think it'll be either for like a role, like you said, of like, you drafted the guy, you can mentor over him, then inevitably you'll suck enough that he takes over halfway into the season.
He can get Jameis Winston's interception rate to maybe around like 25 or so.
Phil might break it.
Yeah, honestly.
I actually do like him in Tampa Bay because like that offense is like pretty good, and to use like an experienced guy. I mean, we make fun of Jameis for turning over, and Phil doesn't. Phil is better than hate him or not, which I don't like him very much. He's probably gonna be a Hall of Famer. So.
Oh no, he'll make it. Regardless of my personal bias against him, he'll make it. But I definitely I kind of look at it more so. I don't think he's gonna go to a team like Tampa who's still kind of rebuilding.
Yeah.
I can see him maybe go to Miami with coming off a few draft picks and
They're
like
even worse though.
Arguably.
Tampa's finished 8-8.
Did they really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
They have a really good offense.
Well,
Defense is
despite the 30 interceptions, Jameis, he had his positive moments
I
throughout
don't
the
like
year.
him.
He has
You
his
can't throw
moments.
30 interceptions in the NFL and be successful.
Is it
He also had 30 touchdowns.
Is
So
it
you
me?
can't throw 30 interceptions in the NFL and be
Every time I
successful.
watch him, I feel like he's throwing a deep ball. Like I feel
Yes.
like he never throws like checkdowns. Is that just me?
Yeah, it's probably why he throws 30 interceptions a year.
I'm
That's
just saying,
ridiculous.
you
Come
would
on.
think there'd be somebody to help him out there. Like he wouldn't be like throwing all his picks, but
So yeah, Ben's the last man standing from the 04 class. No surprise, best quarterback taken in that draft. So.
Oh, okay.
well, okay, we're a little
Right.
biased, but
It's
okay.
just true facts. Last man standing.
All right, dude. Did you want to get into this next one? You want me to bring it up?
Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So we'll get into NFL award favorites. We got a few awards here. Let's start off with Rookie of the Year. Who do you guys have for your Rookie of the Year in the NFL?
Defense. Devin Bush was really promising the first few weeks, and he had a good season. But I think based on splash plays alone, Nick Bosa wins that for defensive.
Yeah.
Offensive, it's tough. I really want to give it to Josh Jacobs, the running back for Oakland, but I think I'm going to give it to Kyler Murray, only because QB is a more important position.
And he
had a really good season.
He had a secretly good season.
He's going to thrive well in that Coach Bro offense down there in Arizona.
Coach Bro.
Yeah.
The first I
Cliff Kingsbury, that's what.
I never heard that before in my life.
Well, that's what the college football faithful called him when he was at Texas Tech.
It's pretty funny.
Coach Bro.
Because he looked,
Actually, do have a story for later, but I had a cousin that almost went on a date with him.
Wow.
She went to Texas Tech, and he was a very promising bachelor, and he asked her out.
Everyone dates everyone at Texas Tech.
Wow.
There's nothing else to do out there.
Anyways, moving on. Moving on.
That and drink.
Definitely for defensive player, I got to give it to Nick Bosa. I really can't think of anybody who comes close, especially in Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Josh Jacobs just a little bit because while he's not that big name like Kyler Murray player, he effectively has led that Oakland team pretty well. They had an 8-8 record. I think when I look at Rookie of the Year, I kind of tend to see who's going to consistently be a little bit better. And I can see him behind that offensive line be consistently better than Kyler Murray. And to disagree with Tom, because if we agreed on everything, it would be
it'd be tough.
A very boring show.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll say Nick Bosa, Rookie of the Year on the defensive side.
Wow.
I mean,
49ers fan.
Yeah. Tommy, I'll have to agree with you. I think you look just sheer stat numbers and quarterback.
I was really close to giving it to Josh.
Quarterback being, very important. Kyler Murray looked like he kind of transitioned very well.
He didn't turn it over much. I mean,
size didn't seem to be too big of a factor, and like you said, not a lot of turnover. So it'll be interesting to see, but I will definitely give it to him. Now we'll just get into Defensive Player of the Year, not rookie.
This one's hard.
This one's actually really tough.
It could be the same.
I
have mine.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it to T.J. Watt.
Oh, Rowley. We're shaking hands for those of you listening to this.
As much as a Cowboys faithful, I am not big on the Steelers, but you look at him and he was a first-team All-Pro. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
first team at edge rusher and second team All-Pro at linebacker for his coverage. So he got 2 picks.
That's being good at 2 different positions.
Yeah.
That's being All-Pro good at 2 different positions. Defensively, I think the other contenders. Stephon Gilmore, but even then, I think he's on an already stacked Patriots defense.
I'm gonna bounce off of that. That was my point exactly. The Steelers.
Steelers
defense is actually really good.
I was gonna say Stephon Gilmore, my guy for the defense. Couple of defensive touchdowns for him. He had 6 interceptions throughout the year. Yeah, again, it's a stacked defense, but still put up 6 interceptions.
My argument against that is he only has to be good at the one thing, where TJ, it's expected of him to be good at wherever they put him.
Yeah.
So,
and he's a lot better than his brother.
I'd agree so far.
He had a better season this year.
Well, I mean, JJ barely played.
Well, yeah, that's why. Had JJ played, probably would have had a better season. Although there was a point where JJ hadn't played for 5 weeks, and the top 2 leaders. That's
every season.
It's not. The top 2 leaders in pressures were JJ and TJ, which was wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I gotta go TJ, although I think Gilmore will win it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things. Unless you want to add on to why you think Gilmore should get it.
No. I mean, 6 interceptions. You get 2 defensive touchdowns. I think that's impressive. I mean, we have 2 defensive scores throughout a season. I think that's impressive for anyone.
My point, being more, a Steelers fan, watched all the games that, it's no secret that the team on offense was terrible this year. We didn't have a quarterback. In fact, we had 3. So I think TJ really willed that team to their 8-8 record.
Right.
Because he had to make up for so much lack of. Mm-hmm. He always made a play when we needed it, basically.
Oh yeah.
All right, Offensive Player of the Year.
I haven't even thought about this.
I gotta go Christian McCaffrey.
Really?
I would say if Lamar Jackson gets MVP, he shouldn't. That's just my thing. I don't think
you shouldn't get 2 awards.
He shouldn't get 2 awards for essentially the same thing. Christian McCaffrey was first team All-Pro running back and first team All-Pro flex. I'll be honest, I don't kind of like that, but I just think that was a very bad Panthers team, and the offense went through him essentially. Literally, they put in that one. Forgive me, I can't think of his name. That quarterback.
Will Greer.
No, Allen. Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen, and he led them to that 3-0 start at first, but basically all he was doing was throwing to Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. If they're not running the ball to Christian McCaffrey, they're throwing the ball to Christian McCaffrey. And I think he had a really good season. I got to give it to him just based on that alone because he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do whatever offensively. And yeah, I think he gets that edge slightly over Lamar.
Give me Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh.
Showtime, Patty Mahomes.
I took the ball real good.
He missed 3 games, I believe, right, in the regular season.
Right, yeah.
Still finished with over 4,000 yards. This is just passing, 26 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And he has led his team
to the Super Bowl.
First time in 50 years. So the East Texas boy, I think, if he doesn't get MVP, definitely Offensive Player of the Year. Tommy, what do you got?
I think I'm going to go run CMC as well, only because to be that kind of small and still get over 1,000 yards at running back is pretty impressive. I mean, that guy's getting nailed.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like a big, those are big guys hitting him. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one thing if like all he did was catch passes, which he catches a lot, but he's still, let me pull up his stats here. Do you have him, Nick? I don't know.
No, I do not. I apologize.
Well, I didn't have him looked up. But he had like 2,000 yards, 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, I believe. So I think that's pretty impressive in itself. I can't say Lamar, only because I hate the Ravens. Yeah, I think I got to go CMC. Although that Mahomes pick, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him because he basically missed 3 games.
Yeah.
I like that pick.
Right, that sounds silly, but I never even considered Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I was so dead set on like Christian McCaffrey.
All right. Coach of the Year, and this one is interesting.
Very interesting. So had the Steelers won at least 2 of their last 3 games, I would have said Tomlin, hands down. But they finished 8-8 and missed the playoffs. So I'm gonna go Shanahan.
Yeah.
I don't want to, only because I feel like a lot of that is a lot based on the GM and the moves he made.
Yeah.
Was it Lynch?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But Shanahan did come up with an offensive game plan but yeah, I mean, it's...
I agree. And you could say Vrabel, but again, they lost, so I'm going to have to go Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have thrown around John Harbaugh. I don't really like that because he made the playoffs last year. And I think it would be a little bit different if they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they were a playoff team last year. He didn't have to do much of correction this year.
Yeah, San Francisco won 4 or 5
games.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
incredible.
Yeah.
And now they're in the Super Bowl.
And you've made the really good point before, Tom, that basically Coach of the Year is like, oh, your team was a lot better than we thought award.
That's how it is in every league.
I don't think a whole lot of people had San Francisco pegged for maybe 6 wins before the season started.
I didn't.
No, I did not.
No,
you're the fan.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that award is Kyle Shanahan's to lose.
And he's dealing, not that Jimmy G has an ego, but maybe he does, I don't know the guy. But, not that he has any ego problem, but the fact that he coaches this QB and he bought him into the system of I'm only going to throw 8 times in the championship, the biggest game of his career up at that point. That's a pretty good coaching job to get a player to buy into my position is going to go by the wayside.
Yeah.
In the most important game of my career. I think that's slept on quite a bit as well.
I mean, I'll agree with both of y'all. I think Shanahan, probably that one. And then we go to the big award, the MVP of this year.
This was a really interesting one throughout the season because first 5 weeks maybe everyone was going to give it to Russell
Wilson.
I don't think he had a bad back half of the season, but everyone stopped talking to him after Lamar kind of went off.
Yeah, and I was actually going to make... It's funny you bring that up because I was going to say, obviously Lamar wins that, but if you look at Russell Wilson's stats for 2019...
Really good.
4,000 yards throwing, 31 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions, and they played some stout opponents. They played
one of the hardest divisions in the league.
Yeah, I mean, they played the 49ers twice. They won the first bout, almost won the second time.
Yeah, they're half a yard short.
The Cardinals are an upset team.
Oh yeah, they're on the up and up.
And then the Rams, you never know which team you're going to get. So they're
regardless
the
Rams are still off a Super Bowl appearance, which is still, I mean, I don't think that should be swept under the rug completely. That's a very tough division to be in. I think just what he's able to do. He had a pretty tough schedule too. They played the Eagles. The Eagles, which are still pretty stout. They've played some close games. They played the Steelers. They played the Bengals in the first game of the year, and that was a really close game. So I think if what I'm going to basically say for this segment, if it's not Lamar, it's definitely Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be Lamar.
Yeah,
Probably.
Only just because of all the records and. I mean, love him or hate him, that got a lot of people talking about the league. You know what I mean? And I don't think he's a bad player at all. I just don't like him because he plays for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think just for what he did, I think there's no way the league doesn't make him the MVP.
Yeah, again, you have 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
That's no 30 for 30 like Jameis Winston put up this year, but
Yeah, it's actually good.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, we've just passed the 25-minute mark here on the episode 2 of Get the Ball Rolling. We'll now
That's
move.
a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, no. We'll now move to Tommy. I know you love these guys.
Still, a couple quick things.
Oh yes, yeah, of course.
No, keep going.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Your favorite team, Mistake by the Lake. They finally have a GM.
Yeah, after hiring the coach. So the GM usually hires the coach.
right.
The coach is.
Well, isn't this the quintessential Browns way of doing things, right?
It's foolish. And I do actually like the coaching hire because he's the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, and Cleveland should be running the offense that Minnesota runs through the running back, and then don't make Baker throw these terrible whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just ridiculous. I saw that headline, and I was like, that's foolish. That's the only thing I had on that, honestly.
Well, that's why you have your owner be the GM. Smart move by Jared Jones at the Cowboys to do so. If I do say so myself, but I don't understand that.
What has that gotten them in the last
The
20 years?
Hot boys.
You don't have two alpha dogs competing with each other. It just runs in the
God,
family.
I mean,
Speaking of GMs,
yeah.
Bill O'Brien,
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Yeah, Bill O'Brien.
debatably one of the worst coaches in the league, is now also the GM. And off the top of my head, I know that Bill is the GM, and Pete Carroll's also the GM, essentially, of their teams as well as head coach. I thought that the Texans should have fired Bill O'Brien after that playoff loss, they gave him more power.
I understand why you do that, because when you're the head coach...
I don't understand why you do that.
I understand why you do it, but when you want the coach to be the GM, not specifically Bill O'Brien.
Okay.
Because the coach is going to be the one working with those players, and you kind of have to give him who he wants. So that's why GM and coach relationships are really key in the league, and if they don't work out, the team probably doesn't work out around them. And the Texans have kind of been this team that has won in the regular season and then just getting destroyed in the postseason. And I don't know why that is. And I don't know if it's the schedule they play, if it's the division they're in.
It's a crappy division.
It really is a, as I said last week, pancakey. Patty cakey.
Yeah, patty cakey.
Patty cakey.
I think we should start saying pancakey, though.
Anyways, regardless.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Anyways,
I really had nothing much to say about this. I just saw the headline on Twitter. And I was like,
It's ridiculous.
On.
Yeah.
But
that guy sucks.
There's always something with that Texans team that makes me go, they don't have it together, and I never know what it is because they look good. They really do. They will look good to a point, and it comes to the postseason, and I'm sorry, whoever you are, you can't blow a 24-0 lead in the postseason.
Well, maybe if
for the chance of the good of the Super
JJ,
Bowl.
if JJ was healthy, it's
To blow that.
Well, no, he was too worried about his hosting.
He
He was too worried about his hosting gig on
I
SNL.
can't wait for that. Oh, it's gonna be good.
You know what? I'm going to boycott that episode of SNL.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's not going to be any good, not at all. Oh yeah, real quick, Houston, just bad sports town. So yeah,
Bill O'Brien's probably wearing a buzzer.
Probably is. He probably is. So is that everything?
That's for NFL.
And that pretty much wraps up NFL talk. Real quick, I do want to talk a little bit of Mean Green Sports because, again, this men's basketball team, #1 in the conference. What a season they're having. Again, best start since 2010. Sun Belt champions.
Woo!
March Madness tournament appearance. And they are off to a pretty good start. When it comes to men's basketball, women's basketball, they are a very young team.
Right.
They've had some good wins. They pulled out some good wins. So I guess we'll talk women's basketball here real quick. But it's going to take a year or two for them really to develop chemistry with each other.
Right.
You've seen times where they've been ahead in games, and then they'll kind of let it get away from him, and you'll see the body language. A lot of the younger players really fall, and they won't be able to come back. So that'll be something to kind of watch out for women's basketball throughout the rest of the year. Right now, they are sitting at a tournament spot. And again, the top 12 out of the 14 teams make it. But we have pod play coming up. Now, men's basketball.
Pod play.
Pod play, yes.
I thought it was a bonus play.
Bonus play.
It's bonus or pod play again. Top 5 teams play each other. Middle 5 play each other.
Okay, this is one of the
bottom
boys,
4.
top boys things because bonus play sounds a lot more cooler than pod play.
It's officially called pod play.
Well, DeMarcus Lawrence owns pod.
However, most of the schools will actually call it bonus play. But North Texas, the men's team sitting atop of the conference standings, 14-8 overall, and 8-1 in conference play. So they are just barely ahead of Western Kentucky. They are 7-1, but really there's just a well-rounded scoring from this Mean Green team. You have Umoja Gibson, who has really been dominating 60 three-pointers on the year. Coming in, you have Javion Hamlet, who is a newcomer. He's done pretty well.
I've heard some good things about him.
Yeah, he's shooting very well. So, again, he's averaging about close to 30 minutes along with Umoja Gibson. And then you have DJ Draper, the senior, walk-on story. Great story for him. He's come up in the clutch. Roosevelt Smart last year struggled with a lot of injuries, never seemed to be really back. But Rose has really come back, and what we saw from him 2 years ago when he was first here in North Texas, not sure why that's really funny.
When you guys had the cardboard cutouts of the rose.
Oh, yes, yes.
I have a picture of Roland with the giant cardboard cutout rose between his teeth.
Not even that, I'm just laughing about, well, he never seemed to be really back, but now he's back.
Yeah, and his first year here was 2 years ago, and he was, no doubt probably the best person on that team. Last year had an injury about third week of the season, never really, again, looked like himself, but throughout this year, he's been really good. But it's really just all around that this men's basketball team can kind of hurt you. So, again, they came off a 67-57 win against UTEP. That was the last time we recorded. So they had a nice week off. They play their next game Saturday at Rice. And Rice, they're 1-8 on the season. They're at the very bottom. So...
Good.
That's a winnable game.
Right.
So that's a winnable game. So you have at Rice this Saturday, then next Thursday at Middle Tennessee, as they are on a little bit of a road trip here. Middle Tennessee, if you want to guess where they're at. They're 1-7. They're just barely above Rice. So
I thought you meant the location. I was like, I'm assuming Tennessee.
Roland's trying to do geography.
What town?
I don't know, Jonesburg? Something like that?
Middle, Tennessee.
No.
Name is Middle.
It does start with an M, though.
Memphis.
Murfreesboro?
No. Murfreesboro?
Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Murfreesboro, something like that.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Never heard of it. It's right here.
It's probably a reason
Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway. So they play the two bottom teams in the conference their next two games.
Nice.
That's a nice little stretch. Then that Saturday, February the 8th at UAB. UAB, they're a little bit better, but they're just on the edge right now. They're in that second to final tournament spot right now. They're 3-5. They're 12-9 overall. So overall record, really not that much better than North Texas, who was 14-8. North Texas did have a bit of a rough non-conference schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Took OU to the wire at home, but that was exciting. And then the last two scheduled games before we get into pod bonus play, however you want to prefer, those aren't scheduled, but then they finish off February 13th at home against Charlotte. Charlotte has been a sneaky team this year. They are 6-2, so they're right in the middle of things. And then you have Old Dominion, which again, that Old Dominion basketball team over the past few years, they've been tough to stop. They're at 4-4. So men's basketball, they've got a really good chance to kind of build on this lead and maybe get some separation from Western Kentucky and get that top spot going into pod play. So that's kind of a basketball look, and I don't know if you guys had seen anything at all about Mean Green football. They did hire a new special teams coordinator. He was, I believe, here just a few years ago, actually.
He's already here?
No, he coached here.
That's what I mean.
Then he left. Yeah, now he is back. Yes.
He's back.
He wasn't back completely, but now he's back now.
He exactly.
It's Freddie
So Again, we don't have any. we don't have any word about a perhaps full-time offensive coordinator. There is nothing about a.
That's because it's me.
So, full-time offensive coordinator.
There is nothing about a defensive coordinator.
That's because it's me.
So we'll see. There's really just not a whole lot going on so far. Mason Fine did impress during the Senior Bowl. He got some national coverage
I saw some
at ESPN. Of course, the size was brought up. He's 5'10". That was brought up, but he did make a couple of really nice passes under pressure. Then you have Hamilton as well, the defensive end, or I beg your pardon, defensive end, Ladarius Hamilton. He impressed a lot of people as well. So there's a couple of opportunities. We know Hamilton had a real good year with North Texas, but those two really impressed, and it's good to see, again, just more and more recognition for this UNT program.
I could see Mason Fine doing a Duck Hodges.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he gets
Yeah.
brought in training camp as so there's the starter who never plays during training camp, and then there's the two guys battling for the backup. So the two guys battling for the backup position play the first half of preseason games, and then they throw him in the second half when it's...
And he lights it up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he could sneak his way onto a roster or stay on the practice squad and then work his way up. Because, we've seen him play here for 4 years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that guy's awesome.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Incredible.
And I get the size thing, and people are like, well, Kyler Murray's tall. Kyler Murray's really fast, and Mace doesn't have that speed.
I was gonna say that's the one bad thing. Like the thing with Kyler Murray's like, oh, he's small, but he can run.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm like,
don't see Mason Fine running that fast, but I think that's very much what he could do is get his way onto a practice squad, training camp guy, and then potentially light it up and make it on as a third. I doubt second string, but definitely a third string quarterback on some team, especially maybe a team that's you're not really sure. What their quarterback depth chart's going to look like. Maybe he's playing under Phil Rivers in Tampa Bay.
Oh, hey.
Maybe he's playing under Tom Brady in San Francisco, or not San Diego.
Oh, you mean L.A.
Yeah, same thing.
But, it just is great that he did get a little bit of recognition in football scouts, pro football scouts were out there. Again, we'll see what they make of his size, but hey, that might be something real good for that can put this team on the map again. They did hire a safeties and defensive back coach. He was previously the UNT defensive coordinator back in 2011. Clint Bowen, I beg your pardon. He's safeties coach. It's also listed as defensive coordinator responsibilities as well as safety coach. So we'll see exactly what happens there. But that's really what we've got for Mean Green Sports Corner, is a little bit of updates there. And now, let's get to the fun stuff. Super Bowl Sunday. This weekend, you guys will be joining me. This will be a lot of fun. First time I'll actually be having a team in it since 2012. And even then, I watched it not really as a diehard fan. This year will be interesting. I want to apologize in advance for my behavior Sunday night.
I'm jacked.
But
it's your team. Be
for
excited.
this one, and this was Tommy's idea here, so I'm going to toss it over to him.
So I started reading an article about the Super Bowl prop bets, where it's all you can bet on what color the Gatorade shower is going to be.
Right, yeah.
All that
I can guarantee it's going to be red. You got to think, right?
Oh, yeah, both teams are red. That's a good point.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that. So I read one that I thought was really funny, and it said the over-under on how many times they show A-Rod in the stands because he's dating Jennifer Lopez and she's doing the halftime show. And I thought that was really funny, and I don't know what the over-under is set at. I'm going to say 3, and it's going to go over. They're going to show him 5 times. Dancing along, all stupid in the booth.
I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say only twice. Once during the performance and once before.
Okay.
Actually,
that's pretty smart.
Yeah, once during the performance and one before.
So I asked the boys, I don't know if you guys did, I said to come up with maybe 1 or 2 each. Well, I came up with 6.
Yeah, I didn't have time to really come up with
I got
one,
some
so
good ones, though.
I'm gonna take so you said 3. We'll set it at 3.
Yeah, is the over-under.
I'll probably take the over on that.
Yeah, I agree. So
All right, so that's number 1. We'll keep track of this.
Oh, yeah, we'll write all this down.
Someone should write this down. 'Cause I'm not
I'll-
gonna do it.
I'll remember.
It's recorded.
Oh, good point. The over-under on referencing Pat Mahomes' father as a professional baseball player and how that helps him as a player. How many times are Joe Buck and Troy or anyone else really going to talk about that?
I'm gonna say at least. What's the over/under? Is there not
I don't
one?
know. There isn't one.
We'll just-
I'll say 6.
6 times. I'm thinking.
Well, it's just gonna be one of those things where it's like, well, Joe Buck will say it once, and then like Troy will follow up with,
And
well,
then-
yeah, because his dad's a
Then
baseball
he'll
player.
make a throw like a couple quarters later and be like, how's that baseball background?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'll say that one about 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So,
Roland's saying 6 though, so.
All I'm saying. Oh yeah, they're gonna go way over it.
so a Super Bowl commercial featuring a Danny DeVito cameo. This isn't an over/under. This is just will it or won't it?
Oh,
happen?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
100%.
Yes.
Hammer that.
Yes, that is.
Yes.
Lock it in.
Extremely vague teaser to a new movie where it starts out, you don't really know what it's for, you don't know if it's a
Right.
commercial or a trailer, and then like you see some, I don't know specific for what, but you see some character that you recognize, you're like, oh, it's so and so, and then like it comes up like a date at the end, and you know it's a trailer for some new movie.
Right.
But it's like that. It's got to be extremely vague to generate a bunch of hype. That's got to happen.
That will happen.
It's gonna be either with like a Marvel movie or like one of like the
I was gonna
DC
say,
ones.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say that doesn't happen
Really?
this year.
Okay.
Would you say TV show maybe?
Well, that's different.
I said movie.
But
Well, they don't make vague things for TV.
They have
TV is
before.
less likely. For movie, I'm gonna say no.
Okay, so I got a commercial that tells like a story, right?
Right. Let's
But,
take a dad.
but at least in 3 separate parts throughout the game. So like, the commercial like starts telling a story and then it cuts off, and then like a few commercial breaks later it picks up. It's the same commercial for the same brand,
Yes, that
and
happens.
it's the continuation of the story, and it's in at least 3 parts.
At least 3 parts. I say no.
It'll be like a Bud Light commercial.
At least 3 parts.
Yeah.
I say no.
I
3
say
parts
yes.
is a lot.
It'll be like, honestly, at least 3. It'll be like 4 parts, and they'll do like a Bud Light commercial each quarter, and it'll tell like a continuous story, but each piece will be in a separate thing. I guarantee you that.
I just.
You know, I'll take you on the 4, and
I
I think
don't
it.
raise
You
me
know,
yet.
and I'll raise it. I'm gonna say it is Bud Light that
I
does it.
guarantee it's
I don't
Bud Light.
think it's anyone else
They did
except
that,
for Bud
they
Light.
did that either last year or the year before.
Was that the one where it's like the nights and they?
Yeah,
say,
and like
I never
he,
thought
like,
that was funny.
He like no, it's not. It's dumb.
Yeah.
And he like dies and whatever, but
Yeah.
like it continues in different commercial thing. And this one,
Oh, so if that's happened before, then I'm saying that's not gonna happen.
oh, I think it will because I
No.
think everyone's gonna capitalize on it, and it's gonna be done multiple times
Oh,
too.
really?
This one, I was debating saying because it's gonna make Nick mad, and B, we may never get him on the show now.
Oh no.
Oh wow!
Joe Buck
I'm already laughing.
will make an extremely boring call based on an incredible play.
Okay.
At least, like, not over under, like, this will happen or not.
Joe Buck is a master
Oh, okay.
of letting the play speak for itself. That's what you need to do when you're on TV. You don't have to narrate every single
The
second.
helmet catch, and he's like, it's caught
So-
by Tyree. It's so
So I
bland.
will say, and yeah, of course that's going to happen. That's his style of calling the game.
Boring
I don't
Joe
think
Buck.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
I knew this would get Nick fired up.
I will say I think he will make a boring call, and then Troy's just going to follow up with, well, that's just an incredible
Look,
play
that's-
there,
that's a
Joe.
given right
Yeah.
I say that'll happen three calls.
I said at least once, but
No,
I agree with that.
He's going to make
Tyreek Hill will make a one-handed catch like
Oh,
in the end zone in the corner
Something like it.
and like pull it into his body and goes, that's the catch for a touchdown, and it'll be like
But,
over 3 different defenders.
Right.
Again, you know, if you haven't read his book, you should read his book. And talks about
What's the title of his book? So our 35 views on Facebook can.
On YouTube.
yeah,
YouTube.
lucky bastard. All right, that's what it's called. But he talks about when he was first starting out, he got a lot of criticism for being like too much of a homer. So then
So he decided we
no, but so for a while he tried and keep it level. Then he got criticism about that, and he said in the book over the past few years he's started to
Okay.
kind of really enjoy it
Okay.
more.
I
But again,
can't-
I don't think it's
I can't
necessarily a
believe
bad thing.
I'm going to defend that, but you're right because Joe Tessitore annoys me because he
Yeah.
thinks every like a
That's a
30-yard
good point.
run game is like a Super Bowl winner.
And you have the voice crack with him every single time.
Go! Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's gonna happen.
I like-
It happened in the biggest, debatably the biggest play in Super Bowl history with the helmet.
You know,
catch. It
tonight-
kills it so boring.
Tonight debuts and kicks off my very own corner, the Nick Laupius play-by-play corner. Every podcast.
So anyway, what's next on the Super Bowl agenda? I think we're getting a little carried away.
What were you gonna say?
No,
No.
that's going to be my new corner now.
Wow.
Every podcast.
Debuting it tonight or
No,
next week?
that's a little taste for you. Now tune in next week and we'll take a deep dive into who knows, maybe the history and some famous people, and maybe even how to prep if you're interested in that. But tonight, just a little taste, and we'll get that going.
Penguins radio broadcaster Mike Lang,
Oh,
one of the best to ever do it. So
All right, what's the next one?
we got some Super Bowl debates here.
Ooh.
Greatest, and this isn't just for the Super Bowl, but it's coming up, so it's topical. Greatest pregame / tailgate food and or drink. Just throw some out there. Wings is the number one.
Oh, yeah,
Can't beat
Yeah,
it.
it's got to be
Some
wings.
buffalo.
Which is the best place to get wings from?
It's a tough decision.
What's your favorite place?
Well,
this is time for us to say that if Pluckers had a restaurant in the Denton, Texas area, it would kill.
literally in like the 940 like,
Louisville.
like area code.
Near there's one in
Too
Grapevine,
far.
Too
one in
far.
Alliance Keller, and then one in Plano. But if there was one here in a college
That'd
town,
kill.
oh,
Have people
I'm not
come
going
in.
to say that because maybe they could sponsor us. I won't say what I was going to say. Okay, it is a little pricey, but it's not like I'm going to go eat there every night kind of place.
Yeah.
But
It's more of an event for sure.
It's very good. And the closest one to Denton is, it's at least 40 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think. I'm trying to think of other foods you can go wrong with.
But that's what we will be eating in the Super Bowl. Pluckers, if you'd like to sponsor this show.
It might just be me,
We're
but
available.
I've never had pizza.
At least
on a
cover
Super
my
Bowl
purchase.
Sunday.
Huh?
I haven't either.
I've never
Really?
had pizza. No.
Pizza rolls?
No, pizza. Just
Oh,
in
pizza.
general.
No. Pizza rolls are. We've had that almost every Super Bowl that I can remember. Pizza rolls were a big thing, but never pizza. Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I
but
feel like that's like a regular game.
Yeah,
kind of
I was
thing.
like, you and I would order on
Yeah,
Thursday,
so
Thursday.
Super
football
Bowl, you
games.
kind of go like hard for it. You got kind of a lot of different.
Yeah.
You have your
chips.
wings, you have your nachos,
Yeah,
chips, and
burgers,
dip.
Hamburgers is up there too. Steaks.
People
Hot
usually-
dogs.
People usually grill out,
Yeah.
Best drink, no doubt, beer. Easy to chug, get you lit quickly. Or I might have some margaritas this weekend, depending on if I want to kind of really be out there. But
Well, I think the best drink you can have on Super Bowl Sunday is water.
if you're a player, indeed. But if
Or
you're
Gatorade.
if you're a
And what color
spectator,
will it be?
if you're a spectator, it's got to be some sort of alcoholic beverage. So I'll go with beer.
I'll say water.
All right.
No, but I'll
I like
decide.
Coke.
Yeah, beer's up there.
We'll have plenty. We'll have vanilla Coke for you.
Oh, the best Coke. Honestly, that's so good. You haven't lived till you tried it. After that, we got the greatest Super Bowl performances, and I didn't know if you meant this as halftime show or just...
No. Well, if it's halftime show, that's no question.
So I have a hot take. I texted you guys earlier this week. I've got a hot take, and this is what it is. What am I missing with the halftime show? I've never enjoyed it. I never like it.
What are you missing recently?
Just
Really
in general,
nothing.
What am I missing? Yeah,
There
exactly.
hasn't really been a good halftime show. God, I can't
I
remember.
would say the last good one was Beyonce and Bruno
Maybe,
Mars.
yeah.
Which
Maybe.
Super Bowl was
And-
that even for?
That was Broncos and Panthers.
I thought that was Coldplay.
Yeah, I
Well,
think they were
Coldplay
guests.
joined as well.
Was Coldplay the headline and they joined?
Yeah, Coldplay was the first one, and then they announced Beyonce and then Bruno Mars.
Okay.
Beyonce took a back seat to Coldplay?
No, because they called.
You're right.
They said it was Coldplay, and they got backlash, and they kept Coldplay, and they're like, okay, well, we'll add Beyonce, to try and really
I know, but if I'm
get
Beyonce,
excitement.
I'm not taking or if I'm Bruno Mars,
Well,
I'm
Beyonce
not
already-
taking back seat to Coldplay.
Beyonce already headlined because she literally shut the lights off during the Ravens
Yep.
and 49ers
Yeah.
game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Niners short
Still though,
on that comeback.
Yeah.
there's a food chain, and no offense to Coldplay, but Beyonce eats Coldplay.
That was a really good
Well,
one. I
and
remember-
especially with that demographic,
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of diehard, and I'm a big Coldplay fan, by the way, but I don't know a lot of diehard NFL fans that are gonna get excited about Coldplay.
That's how I feel about this year's. What is it, like Shakira and J-Lo?
Yeah.
That just
That's why
weirds me.
A-Rod will be on the camera
Literally,
quite a few times.
Another good Super Bowl was when the Saints played the Colts.
Well,
They
here's a
have
good
the
one.
Who?
Is A-Rod gonna be on the stage?
Will he be in the show?
Right. The Who had a pretty good performance, I thought.
I don't know.
Uh,
You know who'd be good? I think Pearl Jam would be really good.
oh, they would kill it.
Oh,
Because, maybe a little niche, maybe not. Maybe people will say they're outdated. But, that's like a very, American, no nonsense, band. I think they'd be really good.
So, but when we're talking about Super Bowl performances, can I go last on this topic?
sure.
should just go
And
with
I'm
whatever you
gonna
want.
say though, the last great halftime performance 2001 U2 tribute. Not just not a funny matter. The tribute to the 9/11 victims.
Oh God, I didn't
There's
know. I'm sorry.
Nothing more touching than that.
I have not seen it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, you
Forgive
should
me.
be.
Laughing at
And then really, I mean, after that, there's a good here and there, but I would say, Tom, like the last 5 years or so, I don't think you really
That's what I'm saying.
You haven't missed
That was
anything.
my hot take. It sucks. It's always sucked. The U2 one, at least, that's like playing tribute, whatever. It's just it's boring. I always start, so I'm like, I just want to see. I want to see the second half.
Yeah.
I feel like every performance tries to outdo itself by making itself somehow worse than the one before it.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but anyway.
Yes.
How about
That's a
the
good
great
point.
wardrobe malfunction? That was a good one. And Justin Timberlake and
Oh, Whitney Houston. We were too young for
I don't
that.
think it was Whitney Houston.
Yes, it was.
Was it? It was Janet Jackson.
Oh, it was Janet Jackson. Oh, this is our like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. From
Yeah, yeah.
The last podcast, the
last week.
hardcore fans will start to pick up on our
Right.
reoccurring jokes.
Yeah. Jokes. Yeah. All right.
So best Super Bowl performance
by an athlete, by a player.
Yeah.
I
I don't even know. Honestly.
I've studied for this.
Ron's
like-
fired up. This
I
is
have
what
a-
he was waiting for.
I have a bunch pulled up.
Greatest moment. Helmet catch.
James Harrison 100-yard pick six.
Okay, but like what? But player wise, what is your?
I don't know.
Player wise,
I've been
Roland,
busy.
you vamp and then I'll think of something.
I've been busy with
Von
class. I
Miller
haven't.
in recent memory.
Yeah,
he
he
won
did.
MVP for that.
Yeah.
Oh God. Go.
Okay.
Go so we don't have
Okay.
dead air, but let me
So
think.
I have three, and I've decided to look up best Super Bowl performances by athletes whose teams lost.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
So it's actually
I like that.
instead of actually looking. So some of them are actually really surprising, but I think the one I would have to pick is Robert Alford. He played for the Falcons during the Falcons versus Patriots game, and his stat sheet is just insane for that game because he had a pick six against Brady, a fumble recovery, and 11 total tackles, 9 of which are solo.
That's awesome.
Jeez.
So I mean, granted they 28-3,
But there's a lot of other people responsible for that.
Yeah, and
for
he's
that
on
collapse.
the Arizona Cardinals now. And reading that stat sheet, I'm like, that might be the best defensive performance by a player whose defense ultimately lost. Connie Ely, when the Panthers played the Broncos, had 3 sacks, 6 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, all while only playing 23 snaps of that football game.
How did I miss that? Probably because the team lost.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well,
You never hear about these performances.
Yeah.
Tommy was probably in such a rage that night that the Patriots won.
No,
No,
that
Oh,
was-
we've moved on.
Broncos.
Oh, we
Yeah.
moved on. I apologize. You caught me napping.
Yeah, and then offensively, there are actually a few offensively. You can definitely look at Larry Fitzgerald, his 2-touchdown game.
You know,
Or,
he
uh,
never really dropped a pass before.
Terrell Owens when he risked his career to play in that Super Bowl.
Oh, it was like lag or whatever. Yeah.
But and if we're going to talk about best performances by a losing team, Chuck Howley, I don't really count it because he only got 2. He was the only player on a Super Bowl team whose teams lost. He played for the Cowboys against the Colts.
Oh, did he get the MVP?
Got MVP.
That's nuts.
And they lost. But if you look at that stat sheet, they didn't really count like sacks or things like that. So really, he only got it for his 2 interceptions.
No, fair. Okay.
And it was a 16-13 slog of a game, so I'm not going to catch that. So for offensive, like best performance by an offensive player, that it just kind of blows my mind is Thurman Thomas against Super Bowl 25, Bills versus Giants. 15 rushes for 135 yards and a touchdown,
Nice.
and was the second leading receiver with 55 catches.
Nice.
5 catches for 55 yards. And a lot of people have made that argument that he should have won that MVP. I kind of do because he caught more passes
More yards than
than the guy who
guys.
won MVP. And I definitely think he should have won that. But then people make the argument where, they wanted to keep Jim Kelly and that no-huddle offense, on the ground running. So it shouldn't count. But 135 yards on 15 rushes is very incredible. So I say best Super Bowl performances by a losing team. It has to be
I like
those three.
that.
Oh, and that's something that you don't really think of. It's like
No,
Tommy
really
said,
don't.
you never think about that losing team
I
again
have
unless
no
that's
idea
your
who
team.
That Coney Ely guy is.
He's in the XFL now.
There you
Plays
go.
for the Houston Roughnecks, I
Well, I
believe.
wonder what would have happened if the Carolina Panthers won that Super Bowl.
Honestly, he would have been.
That guy would have been the
Yeah,
MVP.
he would have been. I mean, granted, the game. That's assuming that stat stays.
Yeah, I know.
If Cam Newton's not on fire or whatever.
Just looking here at Super Bowl MVP winners, Bradshaw won it twice. Montana won it 3 times. Eli won it twice. And Brady's won it 4 times. So that's just all quarterbacks.
Right.
But just some guys who have multiple performances. And I think Eli's is pretty impressive because, I mean, he's Eli. Kind of sucks. You don't want to say it.
Beat the Patriots.
Playoff Eli, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Playoff Eli, different
He's
monster
a different animal.
there.
But
Best performances as a team, I want to say Tampa Bay, even though it's kind of crap because like Gruden and you just coached there and he basically knew their playbook. But I think the defense scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns that game.
If
so
we're
that's
talking
an impressive one.
best team, I'd have to give it to the 85 Bears.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, that's just a team it's hard for me. They have one loss on the regular season.
Pretty good performance.
Yeah, it's hard for me to not look at a more dominating team.
Probably one of the Cowboys' times they blew out the Bills.
Yeah, that's definitely up there.
It's a good performance.
You
as fans, we like to see like a close, exciting game. But if we're talking about best performances, it kind of goes down to the ones where that are more boring, where they blow out the other team because they're performing more dominant.
But there are also
I wouldn't mind a Niners blowout win on Sunday.
Well, there are times where like the Seahawks blew out the Broncos, but I don't think that was entirely indicative on that Broncos team or that Seahawks team.
Yeah,
I just think
Seahawks team is pretty good.
That was a
shellacking. They had a good game plan, is what I'm saying. I don't think I necessarily think that whole team itself was. I know
we're never having Richard Sherman on. I'm going to tell you that after. He wouldn't take kindly to that statement.
Well, I mean...
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know how to word it precisely.
how about the biggest blunders?
So we're going to not count the Seahawks run because that's just the obvious
no!
No, that is the biggest blunder.
Oh,
it's the biggest blunder of all time.
How you don't give it to Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line?
Human dump truck.
And then a few weeks ago, last game of the season, to win the game against San Francisco, they bring in Marshawn Lynch from the inch line to win it. What do? They take a delay game. So he never got his full
redemption.
Redemption. But yeah, that's got to be the biggest one.
It's kind of funny.
I would say so. I actually looked at this. I looked at biggest gaffes by teams that ended up winning.
Oh, I like his preparation.
So definitely the biggest one that I found that just blows my mind is when the Dolphins actually had their 16-0 season in the Super Bowl. The kicker went to go kick the ball and make it a 17-0 game against the Redskins. He fumbles the snap and runs with it. His name is Garo Yepremian or something like that. He grabs it and he throws the pass and it gets intercepted by the Redskins.
This guy run it back for a touchdown.
And he ran it back in for a touchdown. And you look at that and you go like, good, like that. Had they lost the perfect season on that play,
that'd be crazy.
Exactly, and that's like the craziest. And some people I'm reading this article right now that says arguably the most embarrassing play in NFL history.
Kind of foolish.
And another one too, I have to bring up is Leon Lett against the Bills when he's running it back.
Don Beebe,
and he runs it back in, and Don Beebe knocks it out.
One of the fastest guys in the history of the NFL.
I will say there's 2 stories to that. There's one of like, oh Leon, oh good, why'd you do that? And then there's one of like,
never give
up, Don Beebe and that blue collar Bills team that just they went 4 times and lost every time, but they still had a lot of fight. So I think there's 2 really good stories and 2 good ways to look at it. But if you're looking at biggest gaffe by a winning team, the perfect season Dolphins, they had arguably the most embarrassing play in NFL history.
Biggest gaffe just by any team is the Patriots letting Eli Manning beat them in 2 Super Bowls. I mean, what can you say?
I would argue even the Denver, if a losing performance, the Denver Broncos center snapping the ball over Peyton's head. That set the tone for that whole game.
It really did. Or what's his face? Thurman Thomas like losing his helmet.
Yeah,
and the guy comes in and runs like the wrong direction on the play, and it screws that whole thing up for the Bills.
Mm-hmm. I kind of consider like the only reason I want to consider that a complete gaffe is it's not something that like he had any control of. That's like an off. Yeah, it's an off thing. It wasn't him personally who gaffed. Well, kind of, but
Brady fumbling in the last 5 minutes of the Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Yeah,
first turnover.
Yeah, but to me that's just a football play.
Yeah, I guess if you're on the Eagles' perspective, it's a good play, but I hate that.
Yeah.
All right. I hate to interrupt real quick, but we are closing in on an hour here, episode number 2. Thanks for sticking with us, and I'll get it back to Tommy.
Super Bowl hot takes is our final.
Yeah, I did want to start with a couple of a couple of fun facts, I guess. Number 1, this one I'm sure you've guys have heard this. I'm not sure how many people have heard this, but the 49ers, the offensive assistant, Katie Sowers, is going to be the first female coach ever in a Super Bowl. Can you guess where she is from?
Denton, Texas.
Her hometown. I'll give you one more chance.
Is it in Texas?
No.
Miami.
She's from Kansas City.
Oh, that's ironic.
And she has a tattoo of the Kansas City skyline.
Oh,
And now she's coaching against her.
That's bittersweet.
The team she grew up rooting for as the first female coach in Super Bowl history.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Crazy. That's wild.
Kyle Shanahan is in the Super Bowl after only 3 seasons as the 49ers head coach. The last 7 Super Bowls have had a team where a coach has been there fewer than 5 years.
Wow. Tomlin won it in the second
And there's a lot of talk with Jason Garrett, the coach is there for 5 years, doesn't get to his Super Bowl by the first 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a .001 of winning a Super Bowl. I believe.
Tomlin?
No, Steelers. The Cowher was the one, but he brought him. I believe.
He was hired in '92. They went in '95, but they lost
To the Cowboys.
Yeah. Sometimes you. What does he say to his daughter?
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, but say it like how you.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
All right, and then one more real quick. So Andy Reid is been a head coach for 21 years. He has never won a Super Bowl
As a head coach.
as a head coach.
He has
Can you
won
name
one.
3 other head coaches that have coached?
Oh, we should do trivia every episode. Oh my
Who
God, please.
Who are the 3 other head coaches that have coached more than 21 seasons without a Super Bowl title as a head coach?
Active or just ever?
Ever.
Marvin Lewis.
Nope.
Really?
He's not on there.
It felt like that many seasons. Let me tell you that.
So 21 seasons and then not one.
I don't know if he coached 20. Schottenheimer.
No, he's
He
not
coached
listed.
21
He's
seasons.
not listed.
Oh my. These guys
This is hard.
These guys coaching 21
So
seasons.
there's
without
2 of
Super
these names I'm not familiar with. I'll give those to you.
Bowl.
No,
Oh, thanks.
Okay,
the third one, he's been in the public realm
not Andy
recently.
Herm Edwards?
So Dan Revis,
I don't know who he is.
and then
no.
Chuck Knox. And there's one other guy, and he's not coaching right now, but he was a mainstay.
Okay.
He has a nice mustache.
Herm Edwards?
No.
He does have a nice mustache.
Oh my God. It's not Andy Reid, is it?
No.
I know, because you're describing Andy Reid.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to be mad when Nick tells me.
He was with the Rams for a while.
Jeff Fisher.
Yes, Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher, Dan Reeves, Chuck Knox, Andy Reid, head coaches for 21 seasons or more,
Jeff Fisher doesn't deserve a Super Bowl.
they have never won a Super Bowl. So those are some fun facts. Now to the hot takes.
All right, I got 2, and I think they're going to happen. At one point in the game, the 49ers will try to run a 2-point conversion and will not get it. And my other hot take is the Chiefs will run a fake punt
and get it. Is it going to be a fake punt pass or fake punt and Colquitt's going to take off running?
I think
for the brand.
I think it's going to be a direct snap to like the fullback or whoever gets it and will run it in. I think it's going to be a short yardage play.
I know what you mean.
I've only got one.
All right.
After only throwing 8 passes in
in
the NFC Championship, he will throw. I don't know how many he'll complete. He'll throw 25 passes.
Wow. Okay.
I could
see that actually. Yeah.
I'm playing it on the safer side.
I didn't think this one ahead. I don't know if it's a hot take. Tyreek Hill, regardless of who wins, is going to toast Sherman for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I love
really,
Sherman,
yeah.
And I don't really like Tyreek Hill, to be honest.
Okay,
I just think that
they'll have a play.
he's way too. Yeah. Him or honestly Harden. Either of those guys are way too fast for any of those guys. And my other hot take is that Joe Buck's going to call a really exciting play in the most boring fashion ever.
And we already did our predictions last episode.
Right.
Do you guys want to revise or?
I think I had my score within like 7 points, and I'm actually going to change that. I think the 49ers will win by 6.
6.
Because
of the fake 2-point conversion.
Because it's going to be one of those things where they don't think that.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't get it, and I think they feel like the Chiefs won't have enough time to get down the field, and if they do, the pressure is for them to get 2. I think Shanahan's going to try to win the game when he can.
I still think the Chiefs, although that's no disrespect to the Niners, because I think this could be as close as a 1 or 2 point game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will be, but I think it could easily be.
Right.
I gotta go Chiefs. I sent you guys a tweet earlier this week, and it said something on the 49ers play so much zone.
Yeah.
Not to knock
Yes.
that,
Dana
'cause
Orlovsky,
because
right?
yeah, I hate that guy, but
That's a
he
good
did.
point.
Yeah, it's really good. And the Steelers play a lot of zone too, and if you have so many weapons, at some point, and that's how the Patriots beat you through like schemes. But these guys have a good scheme, but they just have so much talent. There's got to be a hole in that zone somewhere where it's going to be Watkins, Hardman, Hill, or Kelsey gets open, and if they don't get open, Mahomes is going to take off.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see if Mahomes can pass it before getting sacked.
38-35 Niners. I feel like a touchdown is too much. Much of a.
It
Yeah.
can't be more than a touchdown.
So I'll say Niners by 3, and I'll say that because they'll probably win time of possession.
For sure.
easy.
Well, because of how they
Yeah.
play offense, but then how quickly that Kansas City
Yeah.
can strike. So yeah, I guess.
Well, I got one more.
Oh
hot take.
yes, here we go.
We
One more.
talked about Kansas City starting off slow the past couple weeks. I think they start off really hot this game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think they score on their first possession. Whether I know
Yeah.
that's gonna be they're
Yeah.
gonna get the ball first or not, but on the
On
first
their
time
first-
they do,
yeah.
they score on their first possession.
All right. Well, there you go. We have 2 Niners and then 1 Chiefs prediction. Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. That'll do it for episode 2 of Get the Ball Rolling. Thank you so much for tuning in to our second episode. We'll see you next week, where no doubt we'll have more than one of our takes exposed by
Probably all of them,
by-
except for the Joe Rogan.
by Sunday's game. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at GetRollin', and the full name there. The username is only GetRollin'. I guess it can't be much longer. And then it's obviously Get the Ball Rolling Podcast. Follow us on that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until then, we'll see you next time.